Hello everybody, happy Tuesday. Thank you for being here as always. I try to say as often as I can, but I appreciate those of you that come in any capacity that you do, whether it's here live or catching the replay or sharing it with others or however it is that it shows up, and that you're able to participate and help us all grow. So I'll go ahead and put the intention up for this week. Here it is on the screen if this is the first time you've seen the intention. I find my own balance of motion and stillness. I find my own balance of motion and stillness. Intention is always released on Sundays. That way you can sit with it yourself for a little while if you so choose to. But if this is the first time you're hearing the intention, I want to give you just a moment just to see what comes up with that. Just see how that feels and, what the first thoughts, reactions, emotions, anything that may come up. I find my own balance of motion and stillness. So, we have been talking for the last several weeks and alluding to for quite a while about the aspects that we have this week, specifically Mars and Jupiter conjoining, which happens tomorrow. We talked last week about how we have been within that 3-degree engagement range, so definitely been in the building. You may have started to feel this already, but through this week, for sure, Mars, Jupiter on full action. The exact conjunction is tomorrow, Wednesday, August 14th, and it's at 11:02 a.m. So Wednesday, August 14th, 11:02 a.m. That's my time, so 11 a.m. Eastern time. You can translate to your own time zone if you live somewhere other than where I do, but tomorrow morning is when the aspect goes exact. And what is really interesting, and I think just a nice little note that goes along with it, is that at the time of the conjunction, which is going to be at 15 degrees of Gemini, so Jupiter and Mars conjoining at 15 degrees of Gemini, the moon is going to be at, 16 degrees, 16. It's going to be at 16 degrees of Gemini, and the moon at the time of that conjunction is going to be sitting at 15 degrees Sagittarius. So the moon is going to be sitting in opposition to the conjunction of Mars and Jupiter at that time of exactness, and I think that adds a nice little note. Mars conjoining Jupiter, big power, big movement. Those are kind of just like the key phrase that I came up with, along with our intention, of course, that goes with this. So big power, big movement, big knowledge, big representation. Remember that even the big things can still show up in small ways. It can be little things that have big impacts. It can be big things that seem like they're going to have a big impact. Maybe they have a smaller impact than what they do. But showing up loudly in one contrast, one way or another. And those small impactful ways can be bigger things than we realize, like later on down the road, right? Another thing to remember is that when we talk about things being big, things being powerful, like big power, big movement, like that feels, when I say that, that could be a little misleading because it could feel like everybody should be experiencing big things. I've said on here several times that it's all dependent on your own chart and what all you have going on. You very well could have other transits going on within your own chart that are just as, or if not louder than what is going on just mundanely in the sky with the planets interacting. It could be that there's something else that is interacting with one of some aspect of your own chart that is much louder in your life at the moment. But Mars Jupiter conjoining for all of us, it's an expansion of some kind. It's a drive, it's a forcefulness or in your face of big things, of things expanding. It could be that things are expanding quickly, things are moving along quickly. It could be that there is Jupiterian type things, so knowledge and wisdom and teachers' information coming to you very, very quickly. But there is a strength and possibly like an expansion of motivation when Mars and Jupiter come together. Definite drive and ambition and a powerful motivation. Sometimes with Mars, it can be a little bit self-focused, so there could be a bit of like a self-aggrandizing type situation. I think I might have mentioned that last year, but expanding of that movement, okay? Bringing and busting open whatever it is that Mars is working on within your own life. It's in the sign of Gemini, so it's in the Aries sign. So thinking about breakthroughs throughout the mental realm and how we communicate with people, how we interact with other people, our intellect and what we know, the information that we have, the information that comes to us, all of those mental thought processy type things are all at play here. Remember, in the sign of Gemini, it's ruled by that Mercury retrograde, so there is definitely a possibility of like that reworking theme within here, and it could be one of those things where like maybe there was something that you thought about or started before, and like maybe now is the time to come back to it. Like set it down before, or you thought about it, an idea that you had, something you tried before. Now it's coming back around, and Mars and Jupiter are going to give you either the information and the knowledge, or just the willpower and the ambition to go forward and do that type of thing that you were thinking about doing before. Or it could be that if there's something, whatever Mars and Jupiter brings about, if it's something new, there could be the need to revisit, rework, revise. So just be open and be flexible, which is a trait of Gemini anyways, right? To be like experimental and willing to try different things. So keeping that in mind, that like the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that we had in the sign of Taurus, like that was much more solid, much more firm. This is much more flexible, and it's a mutable sign, so it's changeable. Remember, those mutable signs are within that the time periods that we have, like seasonal change, so it's a transitional period. So there could be some flexibility needed and being open to change. Mars could bring a little bit of resistance, but there is Jupiter there to hold and support, and it's really a very it's really a powerful aspect that grants all importance to whatever it is that it's working on. It brings both this wide view perspective through Jupiter, which expands and considers the whole, considers everything. Think of like Sagittarius and Pisces. And Mars is like precision, focus, bringing in like that precise, like laser focus attention, while being able to focus on the big things at the same time. So it's very like, feels very multitasky, especially in the sign of Gemini. So it could almost feel a little bit overwhelming too at the same time. So this aspect is coming, like I said, it's exact tomorrow at 11:02 a.m. my time, exact, so 11 a.m. Moon opposite that conjunction at the same time in the sign of Sagittarius, so conjunction at 16 Gemini, Moon will be at 15 Sagittarius in opposition at the same time, and that brings in, that just brings this aspect just that much closer to it. First of all, it amplifies the aspect by just bringing in the reflective power of the luminary. So side note that Sagittarius is Jupiter's sign. So the moon is in Jupiter's sign in opposition to the Jupiter-Mars conjunction. So there's this affinity, there's this connection between Jupiter and the moon, in addition to, by sign relation, in addition to the opposition here. So it brings it a little bit closer to us, and it amplifies the aspect. It amplifies it through the light, through that luminary quality that it has. It's the moon quality, so it's not the sun's quality. It's that more internal, reflective, feminine type energy, but still one of our guiding lights, either way. And it brings it closer to us, by the significations of the moon. So the moon represents our body, our environment, our memory, our ancestors, where we've come, the memories that we've accumulated, and the conditionings that go along with that, the subconscious mind. Those are all lunar type subjects. So those are all things that are like very closely related to us, right? Relates to the mother, so it relates to that life-giving energy. So that moon in opposition just amps it all up, just that much more. And then, the fact that it's in Sagittarius is Jupiter's sign. There's that connection between the moon and Jupiter, which feels more supportive. So if we have the moon supporting Jupiter, and Jupiter is supporting Mars, Mars is still a quote-unquote malefic planet that just means that its own tendencies are something that is maybe not always desirable. But there's very, very good times that we want Mars energy too. There's times that we need drive. There's times that we need motivation. There's times that we need to be able to like push ourselves forward. Not in that way that we were trudging through that we were talking about April in the sign of Taurus, but pushing ourselves through in a flexible way, a way to be able to like adapt and try something new and be able to still keep going and not discourage, like if something does or doesn't work the first time. So it's in the sign of Gemini. Mercury will be at 29 degrees of Virgo, retrograding back into Leo tomorrow as well. At the exact time of the conjunction, Mercury will still be at 0 Virgo, and it'll retrograde around 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time to 29 degrees of Leo. So we have Mercury, the ruler of this conjunction, at these critical degrees, which is intensifying the ruler of this conjunction. So we have all of these different ways that the energy is amplifying within an already amplifying energy. Jupiter expands and amplifies and increases whatever it touches. So it's increasing that drive and that motivation. There's that reworking. Mercury is still retrograde, so there is still that to consider. So that's the big aspect that we have coming through this week. Taking a look in the comments really quick. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Tom. Thanks for stopping by and thanks for saying hi. Yeah, expand all of the good things. And, this is one of those where mindset plays a lot into it. It always does, right? But if we tell ourselves that Mars and Jupiter getting together is going to expand negative things because it's Mars, that's not going to be very productive for you. That's not going to get you anywhere. If you can utilize and lean into those energies of Mars, and how you can benefit from those this week, how you can benefit from that like pushing forward energy, then you can use that mindset of it to do it in a positive way. Just do small changes, big shifts. Yeah, that's exactly it, Tom. And a Gemini rising too, right? So that's the big aspect that we have for this week. So that's Wednesday. And then the other aspect that we have this week is on Thursday. So just following that conjunction, Mars is going to turn around and it's going to square Saturn. Saturn is in Pisces, so Saturn is in Jupiter's sign. So we have another connection back to Jupiter and back to this conjunction that we have, which will still be within engagement range. It'll still be active. It'll just be on the separating end rather than the applying end. The applying end has a little bit more energy and a little bit more pull to it, where it might be starting to separate or weaken or soften a little bit. But Mars squaring Saturn just after it has this conjunction. Sorry, I was looking at your comment. I got a little bit distracted. Anything this weekend? No, we don't have any aspects this weekend. Monday the 19th, right? Yeah, Monday is the full moon. So we're coming into that fullness. So the moon will be from like the first quarter into the full moon phase. So that would be the big thing that I'm looking at for over this upcoming weekend. But these aspects that we're talking about this week still in play for the weekend, and then Mercury retrograde, and still that Jupiter-Saturn square that we've been talking about. This is just Mars coming into that Jupiter-Saturn square. But this aspect is exact on Thursday the 15th. So if we have Mars conjoining Jupiter, where it's going to expand its motivation and its drives and all of these Mars type qualities are going to be expanded, and we're going to have this knowledge and information. Then Mars turns around and it squares Saturn instantly afterwards. Okay, so it's like go, 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 move forward, bring all this information in, bring all of this drive and motivation in, but then there's like put on the brakes here really, really quick. And these two aspects here, this is key for our intention that we have. So I find my own balance of motion and stillness. Motion, Wednesday, stillness, Thursday. It's all rolling together because these aspects are throughout the whole week here. But it's as if we have first a moment of expansion and a moment of ideas and drive and motivation. And then all of a sudden Saturn says, hold on, let's stop, let's consider, let's contemplate, let's have a space of holding still, a place of contemplation, and maybe a focused consideration of some kind, and let's really laser focus in on what it is that is going on here with Mars and Jupiter. Let's make sure that we have the foundations, let's make sure that the paradigms are right, let's make sure that the environment is right, let's make sure that everything is as it should be before we go forward. So there's this bit of caution after this exuberance coming forward. And there's this persistence too with this square to Saturn. There's like this persistence against all odds. So if Mars, if Mars is making us do a little bit of work, and this is a square between Mars and Saturn, so there is definitely a little work involved, being that it's a square. If there is some hard work and some things that have to be that you have to pull through, and you have to get through that hard stuff, there's some persistence to survive and to succeed at all costs. And to have that motivation, since these two aspects are happening basically simultaneously, where Mars is getting a bit of a positive attitude from Jupiter. Jupiter looks at things as like moving forward and positive. Think about Sagittarius, especially where the moon is at the time. That optimistic outlooks. Pisces can have that like optimistic rose-colored glasses look too. So think of that like motivation and that empowerment, but also having that ability to focus in and consider exactly what the next step is before moving forward into the next step. It seems like it almost kind of tames Mars in the sign of Gemini, because Mars moves fast, Gemini moves fast. Gemini is Mercury's sign. And it kind of tempers it a little bit. Actually, I was kind of wondering if temperance was going to be one of the cards that came out today, but it was not. But I was thinking that earlier this week. I was like, oh, wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, so it's like a balancing. And the Libra moon in me loves that balance. I find my own balance of motion and stillness. This so makes me think of like my yoga practice, which is moving slowly. Not always. We can move fast in vinyasas too, but it's reaching within every little detail of a move, of a pose, as you sink deeper and deeper into it, allowing yourself to stay within that space and make sure you are fully giving everything that you can to this pose before you move on to the next one. And for me, that is a relation, because spending time on my yoga mat and moving is just absolutely my jam. But really, really cool energy coming through Wednesday. Like I said, 11 a.m. Eastern time, between 11 and 12. That would be a good time to kind of focus on this. Say a little whatever, do a little thing, whatever your thing is. But yeah, and then Mars and Jupiter conjoining. Every time we have a conjunction between two planets, it's a new seeding point for a new cycle of those two planets, right? We mention that every time we have a conjunction. So this is starting and toning the next cycle for Mars and Jupiter that lasts approximately 2 years. These cycles are about 2 years because that's about how long it takes Mars to make its way around the zodiac. So this seeding point of Mars and Jupiter, thinking of that like motivated action, that positive, abundant, expansive action, that place where you're going to have this drive and motivation. This is going to take us through until 2026. November 2026, we'll have the conjunction in the sign of Leo. So if you kind of want to track it a little bit, think about where Gemini is within your chart, and consider kind of what has been going on, what has been opening, where has there been movement, where has there been expansion within the sign of Gemini in your own chart, in your own life. And then if you want to look backwards, you can look back to May 2022, and you can think about the conjunction, all of this that we're talking about showing up, but in the sign of Aries. So instead of being in that air sign, it's in the fire sign of Aries. Think about the house that Aries occupies within your own chart, and think about May 2022 until now, and consider what has happened. Like, what have you went through that relates to those significations of that house? And I guarantee you will find something. We are now starting a new cycle in the sign of Gemini. So this is now the place to put our intentions and to put our efforts forward into what we want to bring out within this cycle, within the next 2 years. That brings us into November of 2026, where the conjunction will be in the sign of Leo. So you can think about every other sign alternation of where you have Aries, where you have Gemini, where you have Leo, and kind of see the trajectory of where you recently have been, where you are, and where you could be going. It's just a cool little way to look at it. But big energy of moving forward, but big energy of pacing yourself at the same time. Super, super, like, balancing. And I don't want to say stabilizing, because there's still movement, there's still action. But I think that these two together kind of give like a check and balance between the two aspects. Especially if Mars and Jupiter could just have like such an optimistic, like, ready to go, sorry, lost my thoughts there for just a second. Since that like motivation and that drive can be so positively amped up with Jupiter there could almost be like an invincibility quality where we just we're on such a high where we feel like, you have like all of this luck coming to you that you just kind of go too far. So there could be that type of thing too. But then Saturn, if you do go too far, Saturn's going to check you really, really quick, but slows us down. Make sure we're considering everything before we move forward too far. So those are the aspects of this week. Just two, but two working really, really powerfully together. And that moon in opposition, I think that's really, really cool here too. So a couple cards that we had for this week. Hi Nikita, I didn't see you pop in the comments. Good to see you here. So a couple cards. We have 2 oracle cards and 1 tarot card today. So the tarot, so I can see if you can see this or not. I don't know. Sometimes you can't focus on it. Tarot card that popped out was the 8 of Cups. I also want to point out that when I was pulling the cards today, they came out really slow, which I thought was a bit of a play and like a little nod to our intention this week. A balance of motion and stillness. So I'm shuffling the cards, right? I'm moving them all around. I'm shuffling them lots of different ways. It felt like I just kind of had to hold them and play with them a little bit first. Kind of not really play with them. It's more feels like I'm kind of waking them up and talking to them. And then I was shuffling them for quite a while before one popped out, and that happened with both of the decks. So it's like there's this steady movement, there's this steady motion of going forward, not stopping or persisting, but needing to like allow the time in some way that feels very fitting to kind of what we have going on here with what the cards are, or with the astrology and the attention. So the 8 of Cups. 8 always makes me think of cycles and, considering where we have been, where we are, and where we're going. the 8 usually tells me that feels like there's something missing. Like if we're considering where we've been, where we are, where we're going, then there's something that's not quite complete. There's a lot of history to it, but it's not quite complete yet. There's some motivation to bring something forward that's missing here. The 8 of Cups brings in this collective and emotional, so it brings it a little bit closer to us. And I feel like with the moon being in opposition to this conjunction, that's where I see the cups coming in, because the moon is ruled by Cancer, so the moon itself has these Cancerian, watery type qualities related to it. So it's like where to be fully collectively in emotion, to where do you need to where is there something else that's missing in order to make you feel both intuitively and emotionally fulfilled? Where do you need to make some sort of connection, either with yourself or with others? In the sign of Gemini and air signs, things can be a little bit detached, so I think it's reminding us, and so is the moon in that opposition, reminding us to, like, don't take things too personal, but keep it a little bit personal type of thing, right? Like, hold it close but not too close type of thing. The 8 of Cups here is showing me that wherever we are, like, the 8 always brings me back to cycles. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down, sometimes we're riding the top of the hill, sometimes we're sliding really quickly down. But wherever you are on that ride, you're exactly where you are supposed to be. The focus right now is on the cups. So it's on that emotional connection. It's with that intuitive connection that you have with spirit. It's that collective connection that you have with the groups that you are a part of and the ancestry and the family that you've come from. There's some deep consideration there within that somehow. And then that was the tarot card. The oracle card, 2 popped out, and the 2 that popped out next to each other. So we have the Lady and we have the Lord. So we have this masculine and we have this feminine energy. Lady came first, so just do with that what you will. So the Lady, enjoy growth and reap rewards. Enjoy growth and reap rewards. Sounds like Jupiter, right? Lord, take charge with authority. Take charge with authority. Sounds like Mars, doesn't it? So taking charge with authority while enjoying the growth and reaping the rewards. Reaping the rewards as you take authority. The 8 of Cups makes me feel like it's kind of a back and forth. Like it's not like you have to do this and then you have to do that. It's you have to do this and then you have to do that and then you have to do that and then you have to do this. Like kind of that need to be flexible and flow back and forth. So those are the cards that I have for this week. It feels like it's just saying to balance things out. Don't go too far forward, but don't be too stagnant either, because then you might miss an opportunity. So that's what I have as far as the astrology and the cards for this week. Super great week for internal reflection and looking for your own self-knowledge. Jupiter there with Mars is giving us that there might be little tidbits, there might be little bits of information that come through, little intuitive informations that come through from Jupiter that will give you some sort of little motivation. So like if you have like a little thought of like an inspiring thought of like, oh, I should go do this thing, then you should probably go do that thing, or at least make time to do that thing at some point, like that type of thing. Yeah, so shifting, moving, while still trying to find a place of stillness. Not always easy. We live in a world that is much the go, not so much the stop and still. Yeah, thinking of like somebody that is like going for a walk, but then stops for a moment to take in the scene around them. Or maybe it's more like somebody going for a run. So like you're going for a run and then you notice a whole bunch of really beautiful flowers. So you stop to look at these really beautiful flowers that are around you. I see that I lost my light. Guess I should have had that plugged in a little bit longer. That's okay. So, yeah, that is what I have for this week. We will go ahead and move along with our meditation. So, intention is on there. I'm going to leave that on there for just another moment if anybody wants to take a peek at it. I find my own balance of motion and stillness. I find my own balance of motion and stillness. I think I'm going to plug the light in really quick, so I'm going to put the waiting screen on for just 1 minute. I'm going to plug the light in, and then I will be right back. So go ahead and focus on that intention for just a minute if you're able to, okay? Thank you. Okay, thank you. That just felt too dark, and we're going to call that just another moment of motion and stillness. So I needed to move forward with fixing my light behind me really quick, and I needed you all to be patient with me at a moment of stillness. So here's our intention. I find my own balance of motion and stillness. I find my own balance of motion and stillness. Going to take the intention off there, and then you can see our intentional candle that we have over here, which is white as always. I use a white candle so that way we have this amplifying and clarifying and purifying energy of the white candle, as well as you being able to change this white candle into any color that you want it to be. You could do that with any candle really, but white gives a blank slate. It gives a fresh start and gives us somewhere to create with, somewhere to start, clean, and amplify with. So I'm going to light the intentional candle, and as I do so, I'm going to say our intention out loud. I invite you to say it along with me, whether that's out loud, in your own head, writing it down, whatever works well for you at the moment. So I find my own balance of motion and stillness. Lighting the intentional candle. Flame ignites. As the flame ignites, it starts to grow. As the flame grows, so does our intention. I find a balance of motion and stillness. I find a balance of motion and stillness. If you think about the flame of a candle, there is a level of motion and there is a level of stillness there. So the flame typically isn't moving all around unless you're doing some fun, funky magic with it and you have it dancing. But, you know, there's some little movements. So it appears that the candle flame is like fairly still and not changing a whole lot typically, right? But if you look at it long enough, so that's just at first glance, if you look at it, you will notice that it is indeed moving and fluctuating with the airflow that is within the house. So I think that's, or wherever you are. So I think that is kind of a neat little thing that I just kind of, yeah, little realizations. So I find my own balance of motion and stillness. as always, let's start by closing our eyes and taking just a moment to take stock of your breath at this moment. So just taking stock of where you are today as far as your energy goes, as your experiences, as your emotional energy, and ultimately the quality of your breath. All of these factors, the events of the day, the events of the week, the events of our life, emotions and the emotions all plays a role in the quality of our breath at any given moment. Here we are just noticing, not forcing, not making anything change, just noticing where your breath is at this moment. Is it fast or is it slow? Does it feel deep or does it feel shallow? Just taking notice, taking stock. A moment of stillness before expansion. And after we've taken a moment to not only observe, but honor the quality of our breath at this moment. No matter what level on the spectrum that feels, whether it feels like it's in a really, really good place, whether it feels like there could be a little bit of improvement or a whole lot of improvement. Just making space where you are in this moment. After we've sat with our breath momentarily, we now start to expand the inhale and the exhale. We start a little bit more focused movement, directed breath. Here, we start to focus on deepening the inhale as well as expanding the exhale. The goal here is just to have each inhale slightly deeper and more filling than the one before it, and each exhale releases slightly more air and feels slightly more releasing than the one before that. Alternating breathing in and breathing out slowly and deeply, expanding your breath with no other goal or motivation other than for each breath to be slightly deeper, longer, and more fulfilling than the one before it. Perhaps you start to notice the small changes that happen within your body. Perhaps you feel slightly more relaxed, energized, focused, invigorated. Slight changes in movements. Finding your own balance of motion and stillness. I find my own balance. That part of our intention is so key this week. Because the inhale that is perfect for me may not be exactly the inhale that is perfect for you. And the exhale that allows me to release every little bit of stress and tension that I'm holding at that very moment may not be exactly the release that you need for yourself. Finding your own point of focus and stillness, observation, consideration. While moving oxygen in and out of your body through your lungs. As you continue this process of breathing in and out, I want you to bring your focus and your intention to your lungs within your body. 2 lungs. And your chest expand to the very top of your abdominal cavity. 1 on the left, 1 on the right. And I want you to notice what happens to your lungs, the changes in the motion that happens within your body as you inhale and exhale. As you inhale and as you take your next deep breath in, your lungs start to expand. You may notice that your abdomen distends as your navel moves away from your spine. You most likely don't even consciously notice your diaphragm moving down, allowing space for these lungs to fully fill with air. And for just a moment, maybe you hold your breath at the top of the inhale, feeling your lungs inflated like 2 full balloons on either side, supporting you, loving you, and encouraging you. And as you slowly begin to exhale, you notice that your lungs slowly deflate and start to contract until you have released all of the air that you possibly can. Navel has moved back to a normal, neutral position, as well as your diaphragm, and back into place. And perhaps after you've released all of the breath that you possibly can, perhaps you stay here before your next inhale for just a moment, feeling that release, feeling the surrender and the let go. Feeling that emptiness within your lungs that you know will be replaced very, very soon as you take your next deep breath in. Picturing your lungs, feeling them filling up and expanding. And deflating and contracting on the exhale. Continuing your breath in and out while focusing and pulling your attention towards that internal movement of expansion and contraction within your own body as you breathe in and out. Connecting us deeply to not only our breath, but also our body. you bring yourself to a place of stillness, when you bring yourself inward, focus on your breath, spend time in meditation, contemplation, any sort of stillness practice. The energy within you, in your own aura, expands just as your lungs do on the inhale. And then in times, our energy needs to retract and contract back to our own space, bringing from the environment within us. Energy contracts towards us. Each time you inhale, you bring that air within you. You are bringing energy closer to your being. And each time you exhale, you are releasing energy away from your being. This transaction of energy is a form of expansion and contraction, just as our lungs expand and contract with each breath. Each inhale, picture your energy visually expanding around you. And then as you exhale, releasing the breath, visually see your energy contracting and releasing away from your being. Inhaling in, bringing in that radiant, universal energy within our being. And releasing. Just as our energy expands and contracts, so does the energy of the entire universe. This universe that we are a part of is a living, breathing, through expansion and contraction being. Always changing, always adapting, always moving within the framework that has been set forward. This week we have the ability to simultaneously expand and contract our energy. Taking our energy from within us, expanding it up and out, radiating it all the way across the world, or as far as we decide to, while contracting it back into our own being as needed. There is motivation. There's the ability to charge forward, specifically mentally, while growing and reaping the rewards that come from our actions. The key here is to remember to find your own balance that works for you. How much movement, how much action should you be taking? Maybe there's not an answer. Where do you see an opportunity to consider before you move forward? And where do you feel that exuberant, positive energy bursting you forward in a way that almost feels unstoppable? Like you have been waiting your entire life to expand forward. As we close this meditation, before you open your eyes, I invite you to take a nice deep breath in, feeling that love of the universe, feeling that love of everybody participating in this meditation. Feel it coming within your being, energizing you, filling you, revitalizing you, and releasing that breath. And slowly or quickly open your eyes. Here we are. Thank you, thank you, thank you as always for joining me. I appreciate any capacity that you are able to join us here. This week, big energy, big focused energy. You might already be starting to feel it. You might already be starting to see it. If you look at the whole sign house of Gemini, then you, or whatever house system you use, I always say whole sign house system because that's what I use. There is this like moving forward and pulling back energy, this expanding and contracting energy at the same time. So if you look at where Gemini is and you look at what's been going on in there, what's been cooking, this could be that moment of breakthrough. This could be that movement of going forward, but expanding your energy to a point where it's like too much and you can't pull it back doesn't do anybody any good. So if you are able to have that balance of forward and backwards, like our oracle cards here. So the Lady and the Lord, charging forward, but enjoying the growth and enjoying the reaping of the rewards. He's on a mission. She's enjoying. She's enjoying what's going on. And that thing that might feel like it's missing with the Eight of Cups, that connection that feels like it might be missing, it's there. You just have to remember to connect into it, and that could be part of this expanding and contracting energy as well. Like sometimes we have to detach ourselves, and sometimes we have to attach ourselves. Right? Gemini can detach us and put us too much in our head. The moon in opposition to this conjunction is going to bring it back a little bit closer and give you that little bit of lunar wisdom that goes along with it. So yeah, thank you. Those, like I said, those little motivations that you have, those little things like, maybe I should do this, you should do that, you should do those things, and just see where it gets you, as long as you have that little Saturnian consideration. So yeah, thank you guys. Looking in the comments, shifts, powerful alignment, I love it. Thank you guys as always, and remember that expansion and that contraction. Remember that as much as you can expand your energy, you can contract it and pull it back within you too, because I think sometimes we focus so much like on expanding and opening up, like all really, really good things, not to knock that at all, because that is absolutely like my goal majority of the times, but sometimes you have to just kind of like bring it back a little bit. As a 12th house moon, I can definitely say that I know how to just kind of bring it back into my own space, very much if I have to, but I know that's not easy for everybody. So thank you all. Thank you, Nikita. Thank you. So Melissa, Tom, Nikita, thank you all for commenting and saying hi in here. I will see you all next week. Look for a new intention on Sunday. We do have a new full moon coming through in the sign of Aquarius before we meet again, but we will talk about that next week because it will still be within play. Also, just looking a couple weeks out, not next week, but the following Tuesday, which I believe is like the 27th of August. I'm not going to be able to do a Tuesday night meditation because we have some conflicts, scheduling conflicts going on. So what I would like to do is I would like to do this on Sunday in 2 weeks from now. So that would be, instead of doing it on the 27th, we would do it on the 25th. And I have thrown out a couple times, well, at least one time, about like possibly changing to doing this on Sunday. If anybody has any suggestions, like either yay or nay, feel free to reach out to me for, I'm here to listen. If I wouldn't want to hear it, I wouldn't be saying anything. So whether it's like, yeah, that would work, or no, it wouldn't work, feel free to tell me that. When I originally started doing this on Tuesday nights, Tuesdays were my day off of work. I only worked 4 days a week. I work 5 days a week now, so that's not necessarily needs to be a consideration. It just gave me a little bit more prep time. My thing about Sunday is just, like, if we start this for the week, then we don't miss anything beforehand, and then we can revisit it throughout the week, like midweek, like maybe Wednesday. You don't really want to revisit it on Wednesday. Maybe you do. Maybe it was so good you want to revisit it Wednesday after Tuesday, but it seems like if this was a Sunday thing and then we revisited it like Wednesday or Thursday, that might give a little bit more play with it. So, yeah. Okay, yep, definitely going to be doing it on Sunday the 25th for sure. So, the Facebook event will be for Sunday. I have not put it yet because I clarified this all tonight. So I'll put new events up to remind everybody, and there will be reminders on the page too that we're going to be doing it on Sunday the 25th instead of the 27th. And yeah, trial run. That's kind of what I was thinking too, Tom. It's like I'm kind of being forced into this trial run of something that I was already kind of thinking about and considering. So, Sundays are hard days sometimes for some people too, just because we're getting back into the week. So that's a consideration. It's a consideration on my end too. But yeah, so just throwing it out there. Definitely in 2 weeks from now, we will be here next Tuesday, but 2 weeks from now it will be Sunday instead of Tuesday. So yeah, with that being said, have a great week. And I can't wait to see what Mars and Jupiter have to store for you, because it very well could be nice, impactful ways that lead us through. So, yeah, and like Nikita said, there's always the replay if anybody can't make it, and I feel like it gives more time for the replay. Just like next week, there's a full moon on Monday. We're meeting Tuesday. Like, wouldn't that be kind of nice to meet on Sunday, just ahead of the full moon? It's that type of thing. So. Thank you for considering, and thank you for listening. I will see you all next week. Look Sunday for a new intention, and like I said before, reach out at any time. So have a great week. Bye, everybody.